All right, I want to talk about something kind of cool that I've never really talked about before. We're always talking about insurance claims process and inspections and appraisals and negotiation, all the stuff that goes into insurance claims. I'm going to talk about historic insurance cases. I'm going to talk about 3 case studies. We're going to go through Hurricane Katrina, the Surfside Condo Collapse, and the Great Texas Freeze, I think it was 2021, that I was a part of all of those. I wasn't a part of the Surfside Condo Collapse, but I'm very familiar with it, and I think it's going to be kind of interesting. It's kind of cool little way. It's just something different that we're doing here this week. And yeah, if you're interested in any of these things, stay tuned. In 3, in 2, in 1. What's up, advocates? Welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Claims Show. I am your host, Vince Perri, the Commercial Claims Advocate, owner and CEO of Elite Resolutions, a public adjusting firm, and the Commercial Claims Advocate, where we are a consulting firm, consulting public adjusters and contractors, anybody in the insurance claims industry throughout the country. Everybody needs an attorney on their side. So whether you're a public adjuster or contractor or anyone else in the insurance claims business, make sure that you have an attorney that you could rely on, that you can go to for questions whenever you need it. That guy for me for the last 12 years has been David Farber. David Farber is the owner of the Farber Law Firm, and he has been there for me from the beginning of my career until now. And I would love for him to be able to help you as well. So make sure you call him at this number here and visit his website so you can learn more about the amazing David Farber of the Farber Law Firm. I had been looking for an accountant for years, and I was unable to find anybody that I liked, that I worked with, and was able to do what I needed to be done to my taxes and to my accountant. Jeremy David at Noble Wealth has been a godsend to me, my family, and my company. We have saved so much money in taxes I can't even begin to describe, and he knows what he's doing. You need to call Jeremy at Noble Wealth and get yourself the right accountant, because he's the man who's going to help you save on taxes. Because ultimately, you don't want to be making money, especially if you're self-employed, and having it all go to the IRS. Call Jeremy, call Noble Wealth, and they will help you tremendously with the entire accounting process and your tax situation from A to Z. Let's go through some insurance, some historical cases. I think it's important to understand sort of what goes on with these claims, right? With these historical losses. There's some amazing events that have taken place throughout time, right? And I want to get to some details of what goes on with these claims, because I was a part of most of these things actually, and I think it's very interesting to go back sometimes in time to take a look at, because what do you have to do? Obviously, history repeats itself. We have to be prepared for it to happen again, and I just thought it was very interesting. With the first one that I want to start off with is really Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Wilma. Hurricane Katrina is one of the costliest disasters in U.S. history. Obviously, it hit Louisiana and it just totally obliterated it. And it estimated $41 billion in 2005. And here's the thing is Hurricane Katrina did not just hit Louisiana. Hurricane Katrina went through South Florida and then up and then hit Louisiana. It went through South Florida as a category 1. I think it might have been almost a category 2, and it caused some significant damage. In that same year, Hurricane Wilma also came through and hit Miami really, really hard. I was a part of those claims, and I worked a lot of those claims, a lot of the reopened claims. Interesting enough about that, in my experience with Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Wilma, is for me, it was a lot of reopened claims. So, I want you to know that it does vary in every single state, but I didn't become an adjuster until about 2008, 2009. We were reopening claims from Hurricane Katrina and Wilma for 5 years, where we were going back, and if you were underpaid on a claim, we were able to reopen. So what is the learning lesson here is that if you have an insurance claim that you have filed in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you may be able, depending on your state, you may be able to go back, reopen that claim, and actually get the money that you need. So I think that's very interesting to know. For me, from my experience with Katrina and Wilma, that was the start of my career. That was the start of my door knocking career, of my just going out there networking and a lot of door knocking I did in 2008, 2009. But anytime I saw a tarp, anytime I saw a mismatching roof, anytime I went back into history and I knew that there was certain areas, I would just go all day door knocking to try to find claims. And if their damage wasn't paid for correctly, I was able to reopen that claim and get them more money. So I think that's pretty interesting. Besides the obvious catastrophe that occurred in Louisiana, which I did not work Louisiana, so I don't have experience in that. That's how I was able to really start my career. And also a good point, if you have a claim that you were underpaid, you might be able to go back and take a look at it. Case study number 2 is the Surfside Condo Collapse. Now, this just happened a couple of years ago. This was obviously just a terrible, terrible event. 98 people died in this building. It was an old building that just ended up collapsing. And there was a lot of warnings, right, throughout the years of saying, hey, this building is not in good shape. This building has a chance to collapse. You have to do something about it. And they basically ignored a lot of the warnings, did some minor repairs, but didn't do anything really serious. And then all of a sudden, this thing collapsed. Here's the part that I find very interesting. I had a long conversation with Chip Merlin. If you want to click here for that podcast, you can take a look at that interview where we do go in depth with his involvement in the Surfside Condo Collapse. The interesting thing about the Surfside Condo Collapse that I really want to talk about is that there was a lot of attorneys involved. I think there was about anywhere from 20 to 30 different attorneys involved, and probably more, just because of all of the homeowners that were also making insurance claims. What was interesting, though, is that they all got settled. So there was no year, 2, 5, 10-year legal battle that was dragged out, which is fascinating to me because you would think in a case like that, that's what would happen. And here's why. If there was pre-warnings about the building collapsing and they didn't do the proper maintenance to maintain it, that does not usually go well for the building insurance. And if it's any kind of faulty construction or anything like that, or any kind of pre-existing damage, these things are automatic exclusions on the policy. However, with that said, it seems to me like because of the catastrophe and the tragedy of the people that died, both sides, the insurance company, insurance attorneys, and the policyholders that attorneys were representing, they were able to come to a settlement. And a Florida judge approved a $1.2 billion settlement for unit owners and families of those who died in the collapse of the condo tower in Surfside. And that's just fascinating because it avoided years and years of legal battle, and all of it was settled out, and both sides were ultimately, okay with the result. So I found that very interesting, where both sides, the insurance company and the policyholders, insurance company attorneys, and policyholder attorneys were able to come to the same side of the table and make an agreement, which I remember is what Chip told me as well. He said it was one of the most amazing experiences he had ever had, where it was one of the best as far as just like communication and just coming to an agreement, which is fascinating. Again, you can watch that Chip Merlin interview where we go into depth with that. Case study number 3, the Great Texas Freeze. Now, I'm from Florida, born and raised in Florida. I've mainly only worked claims in Florida, but I'm also licensed in Texas. Well, when this freeze occurred, it was in 2021, it was intense. I had never seen anything like this, where it got so cold in Texas, where all of the pipes froze. Now, what happens when the pipes freeze? What does water do? It expands. It expanded to the point where the pipes break. Now, when they initially break and the freeze is occurring, you hear pop, 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 but you don't see any water yet. It's not until the temperatures start to rise and these things start to melt that there's water running through there, and now it's literally raining in your house. Remember, a supply line is a constant flow of water coming in. It doesn't stop. It turns on when you turn it turns off. So as soon as this ice melted, all of these houses were just water all over, and it was insane. It was just water everywhere. It was almost as if 100% of the houses had suffered damage, and we signed a lot of claims out there. It was a lot of work, a lot of mitigation companies. That whole dry out, making sure that you have the machines and the proper machines to do proper dry outs. That was big. Every single one of these houses needed it, and I also found it funny that in Texas you get a lot of hailstorms. Right? And a lot of the adjusters were more used to looking at finding hail damage. I came in there really just a water damage background, and I was able to really do well because a lot of people didn't really understand how water damage worked, how you were to actually protect these homes from growing mold and a lot of really just nasty damage. So what the Great Texas Freeze was, $10.3 billion in losses. $10.3 billion in losses. That's pretty intense. So it was quite the event that happened in Texas, and man, I'd never seen anything like it. They didn't have a freeze like that. I think it was over like 50 to 100 years or something like that, where they had a freeze that bad. So some key lessons for public adjusters and policyholders from these cases. I think it's just really important to make sure, and I sound like a broken record, but I think it's very important to make sure you're documenting your damages. First of all, you have to understand that anything can happen at any time, okay? I made this channel for public adjusters because I didn't think policyholders would be interested in something that they think would never happen to them. But if you're a policyholder and you're watching this, please understand that it can happen to you. So make sure that because these are sudden and accidental events that you never know can happen, make sure you have an idea of where your policy is. Do a policy review every year to make sure that you've got a decent policy. We do policy reviews, free policy reviews all the time at Elite Resolutions. So make sure that you have somebody reviewing your policy just to make sure you have a nice, decent deductible, you have good policy limits, you don't have any weird exclusions that could really exclude you from getting paid on a more common claim, and make sure you have access to that somewhere. Also, make sure that you're ready, okay? If you're watching this, just know that if something happens, document the damage, okay? If there's a storm occurring outside of your house that you're getting a little fearful about what's going on outside, take a video of the storm actually occurring, okay? And as soon as that storm passes, go upstairs, go up to the roof if you can, if you're able, or get a neighbor to go up there to take a look at the roof to see if there was any damage up there. And document it. Documenting is so important to making sure that you're going to present the best evidence possible to get your claim paid. That's what public adjusters are for. The role of the public adjuster is to go ahead and review that for you. A lot of public adjusters that I know, and Elite Resolutions as well, will do a free inspection on your home just to see if there's anything going on. We also do something that's called a pre-loss risk assessment, where if you want us to go over there every year and just take a look at everything and take a look to see if there's any further damage, we'll recommend maintenance, we'll recommend repairs and different things. Having a public adjuster friend is very important because it's our job to make sure that you are set up and ready to go in case a case of loss occurs to your house. That's pretty much it. I really want to talk about those case studies. I thought they were pretty interesting. We had never talked about anything like that before, but Hurricane Katrina and Wilma, Surfside Condo Collapse, the Great Texas Freeze, as you can see, they're just all wild and crazy events that really you just never know that it could happen to you, and you have to be prepared. Make sure that you're ready to go. Make sure that you've got a file in your computer that talks about sort of like your home insurance. It's got your policy, it's got photos of your home, and it's got any documentation and maintenance and repairs and Home Depot invoices and stuff like that. We keep those things at Elite Resolutions to make sure that our clients are prepared in case of a loss occurs. If you want more information on that, please go ahead and send me an email. Send us an email at eliteresolutions.com. You can shoot me a message on Instagram at Commercial Claims Advocate. I'm also very prevalent on LinkedIn and Facebook as well, and I'm happy to help and have someone, either myself or someone in our staff, reach out to you so we can go ahead and review your policy, schedule an inspection, and take a look at your house. Additional living expenses is one of the most difficult parts of an insurance claim, and the reason is it's very high pressure, and as a public adjuster or contractor, you're already dealing with the negotiating of the build back process. You don't want to have to deal with ALE as well. Black Diamond Housing Services does all of that. They don't even charge the client. They bill it directly to the insurance company. It's all covered under the ALE coverage. So you need to call Black Diamond if you have a house that has been severely lost, whether it's like severe mold, severe water, fire, or anything like that, where they need a place to stay. Call Black Diamond Housing Services and they'll be able to take care of your client from beginning to end. If you're struggling and waiting forever and a day to get paid on your claims because you have to wait for the mortgage company, you have to wait for the client, you have to wait for all of these things, Ink Payments by Ink solves that for you. By simply uploading it onto their system, everything gets processed and you get directly deposited your fee into your bank account. Choose InkPay and make sure that you use the promo code VINCE so that you can get $299 off the initial registration fee. So go ahead and check it out, Ink Payments. We've been using it for a long time. And that's what we got, guys. Thank you very much. My name is Vince Perri. I'm owner CEO of Elite Resolutions, and I am the Commercial Claims Advocate. Where at CCA, we mentor and we help contractors and public adjusters throughout the country, making sure that their insurance claim game is tight. Thank you very much, guys. Have an amazing Wednesday. Have an amazing week, and have a killer weekend. We'll see you next week. Later.